Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michael Snow. I'm the president of Wheat Ridge United Neighborhoods. You are watching the 2013 Wheat Ridge United Neighborhoods Election Forum. Thank you all for being here. Tonight you will hear from our candidates, both in the municipal level. You'll also hear those county candidates, and you'll hear speakers for all the ballot issues that will appear on your ballot this November. So first off, if you'll all join me in a Pledge of Allegiance, then we'll get started. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republics for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'll be joined tonight by several people assisting me in moderating the forum this evening, including Tom Slattery, Nancy Snow, Mary Cavara, Rhonda Champion, and especially I want to recognize Olivia Bohannon, who is a volunteer from Wheat Ridge High School. Thank you all for being here and helping. So first off, the agenda tonight, we'll first hear from the Wheat Ridge candidates, starting with the mayor, and then we'll go down through District 1, 2, 3, and 4. Following that, we'll have a short intermission, and you'll then hear from it's called a county candidates, and then you'll hear speakers for and against our ballot issues. So with that, I'm going to introduce Tom Slattery. He's going to give a brief summary of the ground rules for how the forum will take place tonight. First off, I want to tell you that the questions you will hear our candidates answer tonight have all been submitted by citizens. This was voluntary. We got a large number of them, and we have some great questions to hear tonight. The candidates were given a set of 10 questions before tonight. They do not know which of those questions they're going to answer. So there's a little bit of surprise to it. But you'll see how that works as soon as we hear from Tom and he gives us the ground rules. Tom?
Thank you. There will be a little variation tonight. We have had a preponderance of questions on 2 issues. We will ask every candidate to answer a question on those 2 issues. Then there will be 3 questions drawn from the hat. Now, each candidate for city office will have 1 minute to make an introduction. We will ask 5 questions. There will be 1 minute for each question. At the conclusion of the 5 questions, each candidate can make a 1-minute summary. Candidates for school board and speakers for issues will each have 3 minutes to speak. There'll be no questions. Now there's a timer light. It's green while your time is good. You'll get a yellow signal at 30 seconds. Oh, she's able to do 15 seconds for the yellow warning. And then when the light goes red, you get the hook. I think that covers it.
Okay, candidates, and tonight I'll introduce you. You'll get a moment here to give a 1-minute speech each. Our 3 candidates tonight are Michael W. Stites, Joyce Jay, and as a write-in candidate we have Jeffrey Park Worthington. So council member and candidate Stites, you now have 1 minute to introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having us tonight. You do a great job with this. My name's Mike Stites. I'm 61 years old. I was born and raised in Wheat Ridge. I've lived here all my life. My wife, Juanita, was born and raised in Wheat Ridge. She's lived here all of her life with me. Our daughter, Brianna, went to Wheat Ridge High. Our son, Corey, went to Wheat Ridge High. I have been on council for the last 10 years. I'm termed out. I got an extra 2 years because initially I got appointed to fill out a 2-year remainder on a man's term that left office. We've had a family business on 38th for over 60 years. My father was mayor of Wheat Ridge back in the 70s and early 80s. My brother-in-law, Kent Davis, was on council for several years. During the 10 years that I was on council, I was mayor pro tem or council president for 5 of that. So that is my 61 years and 60 seconds.
And before you give us an introduction, Candidate Jay, forgot to mention that you will also each have a 1-minute summation speech after the questions tonight, so keep that in mind. Thanks. And go ahead. We'll hear now an introduction from Joyce Jay.
Is it go? Thank you, United Neighbors, for the privilege to let the community know how I view the opportunities in Wheat Ridge. My personal history includes a successful small business, 4 years on city council, and a host of board and commission appointments, which I attend regularly at this time. After speaking to hundreds and hundreds of residents, I've continually heard a nagging view that Wheat Ridge could do more to experience the success of our neighboring cities. This is why I'm running for mayor. My job will be to recognize council and staff capabilities, encourage cooperative, open discussions that lead to our eventual climb to the greatness this city deserves. If it is true that real estate is about location, 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 Wheat Ridge, with all of its additional amenities, has success available and just needs to capitalize on it. We are starting to move to success, and with the help of council and your vote, I plan to continue that movement.
Thank you, Joyce Jay. And now we'll hear an introductory speech by Jeffrey Park Worthington.
Hello, I'm Park Worthington. I'm considered a write-in candidate for the position of mayor of Wheat Ridge. I run a successful business of 12 years out of Wheat Ridge, doing landscape designs and engineering. I'm seeking this position because I followed the community for the 12 years that I've been here and noticed that crime rate has escalated while commerce has gone down. And for there to be new commerce in Wheat Ridge, they want an attractive environment to place their business in. That means a restructuring of what Wheat Ridge considers violent crime. Statistically, Wheat Ridge has a higher felony crime rate than the national average, as well as Colorado. And this is unexcusable. Focus needs to be made on the safety of the public, and that will generate new commerce invitations that see that Wheat Ridge is a community that they can thrive in. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. So we'll get to the first of our questions, and I will ask this first question of Michael Stites. This is the first of the two mandatory questions. The question is, the city has implemented a temporary reduction of traffic lanes on the eastern end of 38th Avenue in an effort to create a more bike, pedestrian, and business-friendly environment. Should this be made permanent? And how do you propose the city remedy the many concerns and complaints about the current design while balancing other community and business interests?
Thank you. I have not been for the road diet on 38th ever since its inception. It has created a lot of problems. I think, quite honestly, with some of the senior citizens, we're holding them hostage in their homes because they're afraid to drive it. You can't turn left, you can't turn right. The flower boxes were, I think, colossal failure. There's been several of them hit. The one across the street from our store has been hit 6 times. In fact, I'm surprised it's still standing. I think we can have redevelopment without 2 lanes. We need to put it back to 4 lanes, because if we have redevelopment, a lot of growth on 38th, we're going to have to be able to get people there. And we can do it with 4 lanes, but 2 lanes, I think it's a ridiculous concept. They're trying to make it like Highlands and Tennyson. You can't do it. It's 1.5 miles long. Nowhere do we have a 6 or an 8 block area where the buildings are jammed together. Thank you.
Okay. Candidate Joyce Jay.
Regarding 38th, 38th was formerly a dated corridor with more for rent signs versus open for business signs. 38th has now experienced 35 new business licenses, $70,000 sales tax increase compared to the same 4-month period prior to the road diet. 16% property value increase versus a 12% general Wheat Ridge property value increase. Impressive. Still, not the full-blown Main Street we saw in early public meetings, but the financials should bring even more. To feel successful, we need shops, interests for all ages, a community plaza, artwork, a water feature. Seniors and walkers need to find something there, not just inconvenient turns and what is called, oh my God, back-end parking. That is the payload I want for a permanent installation, plus the commitment of property and business owners in the form of a merchants association in addition to the city of Wheat Ridge. I don't expect it overnight.
Thank you. And candidate Jeffrey Park Worthington.
I couldn't agree more with Mr. Stites about the planters. It's beyond reasoning why somebody would put a planter in a parking spot that could house a vehicle that will do commerce with the building. The proposal of making it 4 lanes would eat up that parking. There's no parking down there to begin with. So parking needs to be established in the area. As for the bike lane, there were 647 deaths in America due to vehicles and bicycles. Over 18,000 of those 18,000 injuries were caused by vehicles and bicycles. That number has decreased by 30% because communities have developed bike lanes, and plus bicyclists have been more aware of personal safety equipment. So my opinion is keep it 2 lanes, keep it 35 miles an hour, get rid of the planters, freshen up the sidewalks, plant a few more trees within the sidewalk areas, dismiss the art because it's valuable, but there's not enough sidewalk room to have large displays. Encourage galleries to do sidewalk art. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'll move on to the second of the mandatory questions. This time I will ask candidate Joyce Jay to answer first, and then we'll go through the rest of the candidates. The question is, does Wheat Ridge need a sales and or property tax increase? What other options exist along with or in lieu of adjusting budget priorities and increasing the tax base?
Yes, I feel that Wheat Ridge does need a sales tax increase. We need a financial boost. Budget priorities have been tightened to the point we have city employees resistive of taking earned leave time because of lack of human coverage. Consequential large buildups in benefits owed has occurred. Our vehicle replacement schedule is behind by $1 million. Street and repair replacement by $5 million. Our previous increase, what was that, 2003, went to adding 10 more policemen and minimal help to the general fund. A sales tax increase seems easiest for residents and businesses. My preference would be an increase that would not put us too far ahead of the other cities threatening new retail business from choosing our city.
Okay, and now we'll go to candidate Jeffrey Park Worthington.
Personally, I'm opposed to any type of sales tax increase. With property values going up, as we all know who own properties, that will generate new funds for the city to use. In addition, if we bring in more commerce, as I keep on suggesting, the commerce sales tax would buffer any type of personal sales tax incurred by individuals. Sales tax is an important revenue, and the more commerce that we have, the more revenue that we'll have. I'm sorry to say, in my position, I don't do much commerce in Wheat Ridge because of the sales tax bracket. And that's about all I have to say on that matter.
Okay. Next to candidate Mike Stites.
Thank you. At this time, I was not in favor of a sales tax increase. I think we need to really, really, once and for all, take a look at our budget and really get in there and find out where we're spending money, if we're double dipping with particular things. I think that the sales tax increase would have hurt business in Wheat Ridge. It would have put us up above, Lakewood, Arvada, Denver, in particular areas. I think we have a somewhat of a fragile business economic right now that we have to be extremely careful with till we get that built up. Property tax wise, I thought maybe that might be the way to go because we're at 1.82 mils, I think it is, which is the lowest around, period. I think that we get about $25 per piece of property in Wheat Ridge, regardless of whether it's commercial or residential. So I think that if anything,
Okay, thank you all very much. So we're now going to move on to the latter 3 questions, each of which you are going to draw from a hat, and we'll have our volunteer, Olivia, bring that to candidate Mike Stites. And then each of you will answer this question in order. Thank you. And the question is to you, Mike Stites. How do you perceive the mayor's role differs from that of council members, and how will you be effective in this role?
Okay, well, for number one, the mayor can't vote unless it is to break a tie, and it can't be finances. I think that as mayor, you're the liaison between council and staff. I think you work with council and try to help them come to consensus on any items that there might be disagreement on. I think you compromise, but I think for the most part you work with staff, especially you promote the city, but I do think that you definitely work with council and try to get them on board with each issue that comes up. When I was mayor pro tem, I was extremely proud of the fact that around here, all you got to do is count to 5 because there's 8 council people. But I never wanted to just count to 5. I wanted to count to 8. And I was very pleased that with the unanimous votes that we got on a lot of things, because in a study session, if we had 2 or 3 that didn't like something, I was always trying to work with them and try to find out what they didn't like, and most of it was just questions.
Okay, thank you. And candidate Joyce Jay.
The mayor is not a policymaker. The mayor directs council in a collaborative, goal-based thinking. We encourage council members to champion their ideas formed before the election. Many council members come with ideas before the election. Let's bring them forward. The mayor should inform residents at every opportunity regarding staff and council thinking regarding their decisions, a liaison for the public. The mayor should bring forth ideas from other cities, from the state, from federal programs, so that we can bring them into use for our city.
Okay, and I just wanted to let our candidates know, when we give you the time, you know it turns red and you'll hear someone yell time at you. You do have a moment to finish the sentence you're in. You don't have to literally cut yourself off. I'll let you finish that sentence. Okay, and then we'll hear the same question from Jeffrey Park Worthington.
A mayor is a team leader just like a quarterback is for a football team. It takes a team to make something happen. If you don't have a team effort, then nothing's going to get accomplished. Every council member's opinion and thought and vote is important. And fresh ideas need to be brought into the city of Wheat Ridge. I respect that Ms. Jay and Mr. Stites have been on council for an extended period of time. I'm 47 years old, and the demographics of Wheat Ridge show the average age is 45. I believe I'm more in touch with what people are looking forward to in their community.
Okay, thank you. So let's get on to the fourth of the 5 questions. This time I'm going to have council member Joyce Jay pick this question. And
Oh, heck, I wanted to see if I wanted to keep that one.
thanks.
Darn.
Okay, the next question is to you, Joyce Jay.
Oh, God, right away.
About half of the city's housing is occupied by renters. Does this concern you? And if so, what do you think the city should do to increase home ownership?
This is interesting because I'm going to challenge it in a way. 50% is owned by renters. I get it that is the number and that's probably accurate. But when I look around, I do not see 50% of there's a connotation that therefore the city is bad or doesn't look good or has bad appearance. It's a degenerative type of thing. When I look around, the majority of our neighborhoods look pretty nice. Yes, some neglect, but not half. So I'm saying let's have a little more respect actually for renters. Could this be a belief or a reality? We have stepped up code enforcement, and our city's looking pretty good. I think pride begets more pride. There has been a national change in rentals versus own. Easier, less stress, mortgage-free problems are not there for the renters. I say we continue to work with programs to rework and sell, to rework properties and sell them to dwellers. We continue with code enforcement, and we offer landlord recognition for well-maintained properties.
Thank you, and Jeffrey Park Worthington.
Economic situations in the recent history has forced a lot of previous homeowners to become renters. That doesn't mean they don't take pride in where they live. I live on a cul-de-sac, and there's 3 renters on my street. They maintain their home as immaculately as I do, and I'm fairly particular. But one stipulation needs to be enforced, and that each home is a single-family home, not a flop house, not multiple families, 3 bedrooms, 3 people. I know of one home in my neighborhood where there's multiple families living in a 3-bedroom home. This creates a parking issue for the neighborhood as well as personal issues. Other than that, I'm quite satisfied. Thank you.
Okay, and since I've picked on Michael Stites and Joyce Jay so far, I'm going to have the last question drawn by Jeffrey Park Worthington, and he'll answer that question first. I'm sorry. Oh, see, I'm really, yeah, there we go. Let's get back to it. Since I got you off track, I'm going to reread the question. I got myself off track. About half of the city's housing is occupied by renters. Does this concern you? And if so, what do you think the city should do to increase home ownership?
Yeah, it does concern me, and it has concerned me for, well, the 10 years that I've been on council, because as we're out trying to get businesses in, and they tell us that they won't come in because of our demographics, because of all the rentals and everything that we have. We need to promote home ownership. Hopefully, we could have Wheat Ridge Housing Authority buy some properties, rehab them, sell them. Renewal Wheat Ridge could buy some properties, rehab them, and sell them. But I think that's the American dream, has always been to, own your own home or whatever. But yes, I think we are extremely high on the rentals for a town of 30,000. Thank you.
Okay. Now can I move on to the last question? Yes. Okay. So Olivia, if you'll bring the hat to Jeffrey Park Worthington, we'll hear from the last of the 5 questions.
Oh, I hope so.
And the question is, what is your philosophy of about how the mayor should exercise the power of veto?
Well, fortunately, this is a municipality, and our government is small, and we're all well aware of what's going on in politics right now. I don't think a team would want somebody who arbitrarily veto a common thought. A mayor should take in consideration all the thoughts and make them work as long as it's the consensus of the council members and the city. On sensitive issue, I'm going to make this point right away. I'm not going to draw a salary for this position if I'm elected. It's going to go back to the city. I earn enough money where I don't need this position. I want this position to make Wheat Ridge a better place to live. Thank you.
Okay, and same question to you then, Michael Stites.
Okay. I think you have to be extremely careful with the power of veto. It's a big challenge. It's a big power to the mayor. But I think everything that comes through, you go through a study session, you talk about it in particular things. So hopefully you would not have to use the veto. And then I think, too, that, if something was to pass, I think you have to really look at it and say, okay, how is it really going to affect Wheat Ridge? Will it hurt Wheat Ridge? Will it hurt the citizens of Wheat Ridge? Is it going to hurt the economy of Wheat Ridge? But I do think you have to be extremely, very, very careful when it comes time for a veto.
Okay, and Joyce Jay?
Checks and cross-checks, to me, are always valuable. Valued highest when done for the welfare of the residents and the city. That's a part and part of a veto. Further, the fact that if there is a 3/4 council majority overturn of that veto, then that is overturned. So I speak to it favorably because you have cross-checks back and forth. Both the council's made a decision, it's been vetoed. The council has to build up higher for that decision for that veto to stay, which means that other council members may have to be brought in. So that working happens, and it does remain a very secure way to do business within the city.
Okay, that concludes the question and answer of our 3 mayoral candidates. If we could possibly have the table changed out and our candidates for district. I see. I'm so glad you guys are all here. I'll have this down by the end of the night, I promise you. 1 minute summation speech from each of you. We'll start with Michael Stites.
Okay, thank you again for this opportunity. Let me address 38th just a little bit. I'm absolutely 100% for the revitalization or the redevelopment of 38th. But I don't think a two-lane road is the answer. I think the area itself is hot and is getting hot because you're seeing things move west from Highlands and Tennyson are raising rents. Highlands are raising rents, so people are looking in our area, which is great. And we've also picked up some great businesses that are coming online from Arvada, where they're supposed to do that Walmart up there. So we're picking up a lot of good business that way. But it's the area of 38th that's hot. It's not a two-lane road. I think it's seriously affecting business. I think you have to have a diversity of business on 38th. You can't just have all restaurants. You can't just have all coffee shops. But you have to have businesses there that are going to serve the neighborhood and the community.
And Joyce Jay.
Okay, as I said, I'm running for mayor of Wheat Ridge because I think the city potential is fabulous. It always has been, and at this point it's really growing. And I'm going to give you my 3 personal goals. Number 1, a marketing strategy around our 2016 commuter rail station. It hasn't been mentioned, it wasn't an opportunity, but that is a gift to us, and we need to really jump on it and make that go and make it the valuable possibilities that's there. Number 2, bring 38th Avenue to a success for our larger community. Strolling, shopping for all ages, artwork, a plaza. Number 3, looking forward and looking backward. What that means to me is forward to biking potential and its economic advantages, which we have seen, which has been proven and shown to us. Looking backward because we need to be holding high court in our small town to our small town values, including preservation of our Wheat Ridge history. Thanks.
Thank you, and Jeffrey Park Worthington.
I would like to point out that all the statistics that I've mentioned can be found on a website called city-data.com or my own website, worthingtonformayor.com. Unfortunately, there has been a lack of focused thought within the community on the direction. I would like to see that thought become more focused. Beautifying the area, thing that bugs me the worst is the high power lines going down Wadsworth and Kipling. Work with the utilities to get those down. They're anxious to get them out of the sky and underground. Putting sidewalks both ways up Kipling and Wadsworth. What else? 38th Avenue, again, as Mr. Stites mentioned, needs some considerable consideration. And from a designer's point of view, it is an eyesore. And I think that should wrap up. Anything else, they can contact me.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I can let our mayoral candidates go now. And let's all give them a round of applause. Thank you. Meanwhile, let's get our District 1 council candidates up to the table. District 1, Davis Reinhardt, Monica I. Duran, Karen K. Thaler, and Jerry DiTullio. So we'll immediately start with a 1-minute introduction speech by Davis Reinhardt.
Thank you, and thank you for the forum. I am Davis Reinhardt, and I'm running for re-election for Council District 1. I think this is a critical time for the city of Wheat Ridge, but I think we've really begun to turn a corner over the last couple of years. We have a lot of new families moving into the community. We have businesses investing in some of our critical corridors and a lot of activity. Specifically, property values are increasing rapidly, notably in District 1. We have crime is down, and even our sales tax revenues are creeping out of the malaise caused by the last recession. You know, I believe I have the knowledge and the real-world experience to help nurture this revitalization of our city so that we can once again be thought of as a great place for citizens of all ages to live in, and specifically a great place to raise children. Thank you.
Thank you. And Monica I. Duran.
Thank you for having us here this evening. I want all of you just to imagine for a moment dropping off your child at daycare for the very first time. And as you drive away, you see him holding on to his favorite stuffed animal, and little tears are just coming down his face. And at that very moment, you realize that it doesn't matter that you don't have a job, a place to live, or any money coming in. All that matters is that you provide a place where your son can live and thrive. And that's what Wheat Ridge gave us. Through hard work and encouragement and education and opportunity, I've been working for the last 25 years at a dental office in downtown Denver, which I think is an awesome practice. That same driving force that pushed me to protect my family and to better myself is the same force that led me to run for city council. This election is about opportunity and hope. Opportunity is born through a well-funded school system, economic growth, and the hope is protected by the men and women of our police department, fire department, and emergency department. I'm running for city council to fight for Wheat Ridge as hard as I fought for my family. I'm running not because it's easy, but because it's necessary to protect our dreams.
Thank you, Monica Duran. And next we'll hear from Karen Thaler.
Good evening. My name is Karen Thaler, and I would like to share a few things about myself. I am proud to say I am a District 1 native. I attended Stevens Elementary, Wheat Ridge Junior High, and Wheat Ridge High School. My community involvement includes Carnation Festival Committee, Wheat Ridge Civic Academy, Police Citizens Academy. 2007 through 2011, I represented the city of Wheat Ridge as a state finalist for Mrs. Colorado. I averaged 6 events a year, both in and outside of Wheat Ridge, in addition to reading proclamations at city council meetings. The proclamations led me to City Hall, but sitting through the meetings is what piqued my interest in running for council in 2011 and once again this year. In addition to being a concerned citizen regarding both pros and cons of various issues in our city, my qualifications for running as a District 1 candidate include: I am a U.S. citizen, a registered voter, I have lived in District 1 for at least 12 months, and undoubtedly a few years past the age 18 minimum requirement to run for elective office. Thank you.
And Jerry DiTullio.
Good evening. My name is Jerry DiTullio, and I'm a candidate for Wheat Ridge City Council, District 1. The mayor and city council positions in Wheat Ridge are part-time and elected positions by the voters. There are no career politicians in the city of Wheat Ridge. Everybody's working towards the betterment of the city. By choice, I've changed my career 3 times to reinvent myself and to advance my background, education, and experience across the spectrum, and I'm currently a full-time teacher at Wheat Ridge High School. I have worked hard and smart to promote Wheat Ridge and to move the city forward. I have supported win-win public policy with compromise as its key. Our city is too small for win-lose public policy. And then lastly, I wanted to read a comment from a resident. Jerry is a thoughtful and intelligent candidate with broad experience. He will be an advocate for protecting our neighborhoods from high-density residential redevelopment. Jerry does believe in sustainable and sensible redevelopment in Wheat Ridge. As always, Jerry will strive to preserve the hometown feel of our community, and that's from Susan Seeds, Wheat Ridge, our District 1 resident. Thank you, and please visit my website at jerryditullio.com.
Okay, and thank you very much. So as we move into the series of 5 questions for all of you, I want to remind you that you do have some lights that give you some indication there. I encourage you to use those. Recognize that the yellow light gives you 15 seconds before you're done, so you can prepare your speech. So the first is one of the 2 mandatory questions. I will start at the far left end of the table with Davis Reinhardt. The question is, city staff believes that the current city taxes are not enough to fund services or construction and maintenance of the city's infrastructure, such as roads and drainage systems. Do you agree or disagree that the city is underfunded? And if so, how should the city fund the gap?
I guess I'd like to start by pointing out that the city has the lowest sales and property taxes in the region. In fact, our property taxes are a third of what they were when the city was founded. We will spend in 2014 budget almost exactly the same amount of dollars on capital maintenance programs that we did in 1980. We have an aging infrastructure. A lot of it wasn't built properly to begin with. We've got no help coming from the state or the federal government. The reality is, without more revenue for these programs, we're going to look at completing a degrading degradation of the infrastructure, and I think we need to find that I support investing in that. You know, in Colorado, with the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, TABOR, we have made the decision that the citizens should be right at setting their own level of taxation and make this decision. And I think this council has a duty to put that question to the public in the next tax year. Thank you.
Okay, and same question to you, Monica Duran.
I believe because we aren't sustainable right now, we need to look at all options. We need to see what services we could possibly cut, what services are being provided by other organizations such as the county, nonprofits, and the private sector. We also need to work closely with our community to find out what services are valued, what they really want, and what we want to keep. We also need to leverage our dollars to get more funding. There's a city and state program out there called urban drainage. I don't know if we've utilized that or not. Finally, we need to grow our tax base to make sure that businesses are doing well. Thank you.
Okay, same question to you, Karen Thaler.
Just as an average citizen, I would really need to see all the facts and figures before answering one way or the other. Just being honest.
Okay, and last, Jerry DiTullio.
Well, every household, every business, and every government wants more money. With that being said, we all have to live within our means. City Council and staff have not completed the priority-based budgeting process, which started 2 years ago. City Council has not proposed any budget cuts using the less of priority programs and projects of the quartile 4 and quartile 3 of the budget process. Conceivably, Council could data mine and find $3 million plus in savings per year if the quartiles were properly reviewed and city budgets were trimmed accordingly. The budget cuts would lessen the amount of new taxes needed in any proposed tax increase. Council has not performed the needed due diligence on the city budget. Only after this effort can an honest conversation be had with the public about tax increases. In 2004, Council, staff, and the public had a conversation about revenue needs, and the voters approved a tax increase in 2004. In my opinion, I support all of the activities on 38th Avenue, the new businesses, and all of the new energy on 38th Avenue. But spending $615,000 of taxpayer money on a pilot program has not instilled much confidence in the voters with regards to a tax increase at this time. We have to talk to the voters about it.
And thank you very much. That concludes the first question. Second of the mandatory questions, I will start with Monica Duran. The question is, the city has implemented a temporary reduction of traffic lanes on the eastern end of 38th Avenue in an effort to create a more bike, pedestrian, and business-friendly environment. Should this be made permanent? And how do you propose the city remedy the many concerns and complaints about the current design while balancing other community and business interests?
You know, every day that I'm walking through the neighborhood, knocking on doors and talking to citizens, their biggest concern is the lane reduction. And what they've asked me to say is that they're not afraid of change, and they're not afraid of improving the area and moving along with the times. What they're concerned about is the disregard for their concerns, the businesses along there, and their questions and concerns about the road diet. They just feel their voices haven't been heard, and they wanted me to make sure that I expressed that this evening. At this time, I don't think that we can make the changes permanent. I think we still need to make everybody come to the table, businesses, citizens, city council, sit down, discuss what their concerns are, what they'd like to see, what will work, what won't work, and sit down and come up with a plan that works for everybody. Thank you.
Okay, and then we'll go same question to Karen Thaler.
No, it should not be made permanent. I want to be very clear that I am thrilled to see new business coming to 38th. What I am not for is the road diet for the following reasons. The plain and simple fact is that an existing 4-lane road will never capture the intimate feel of an original 2-lane road, no matter how hard you try to fill the excess space. The back-in parking, haphazard bike lane, and planters don't make sense to me. Other citizens must feel the same since cars keep running into them. There are too many gaps of residential that split the commercial flow. Why do we need on-street parking right next to a parking lot? The increased traffic on 44th, 32nd, and 29th Avenues. There's no continuity whatsoever along the entire street. The road diet is a prime example of desperately trying to copy what other cities have done. Just because it worked for their situation doesn't mean it's working for ours. I'm sad to say, like many other citizens, I try avoiding 38th, and doesn't that go against the very objective we as a city are trying to achieve?
Thank you. And same question to Jerry DiTullio.
Thank you. I know that all of you support, and I completely support, the new businesses, the new energy, and the new events on 38th Avenue. A lot of you folks are here tonight that do those. 38th Avenue is a component of a metro-wide transportation system. The two-lane road diet pilot project has caused significant traffic and speeding problems in neighborhoods adjacent to 38th Avenue in Districts 1 and 2. 38th Avenue is currently 60 feet or wider from flow line to flow line. From Pierce West, it was 5 lanes. A win-win proposition I think would benefit the businesses in the neighborhoods and everybody involved would be a 4-lane standard 12-foot drive lanes, 2 eastbound, 2 westbound, functional bike paths all the way from Sheridan to Wadsworth, so they're actually being used from Sheridan to Wadsworth. Right Coast Pizza would be allowed to retain their outdoor patio configuration. Sidewalks, the streetscape, and other public amenities, which we all want and see, would be on private property as negotiated with the property owners, much like we did in the early 2000s when we did the streetscape project from 38th Avenue at Harlan East.
Okay, and then same question to you, Davis Reinhardt.
Well, there's no doubt, I've talked to hundreds of people about this issue, and there's people that are passionately against it and passionately for it. From my standpoint, we embarked upon a test period of an idea. It didn't go as well as I think we would have liked, but it's clear that there is some new vitality in the street that we're trying to support. I think that, we agreed to evaluate this on a series of metrics. Traffic flow, tax revenue in the corridor, diversion traffic into the neighborhood, and traffic accidents are the main ones. And the data's been frankly mixed. There is some growth in taxes and new businesses. There have been the other indicators are largely stable. But I basically think we should just stay the course. That there's maybe turn out to be ways to fix the irritating pieces of this and move forward. But I'm for making that decision once the data's in. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you. And so now we'll move on to the first of the 3 unknown questions. We'll have Karen Thaler draw the first. And the question to you, Karen, in what ways is Wheat Ridge on the right track or the wrong track? Why? And what are your personal goals for any changes?
I feel Wheat Ridge is on the wrong track in regards to 38th Avenue. It has caused major discord among citizens and elected officials. I believe the resolution lies in turning 38th back to a 4-lane road. The fact of the matter is, traffic is down considerably and some long-standing businesses are taking the hit. If drivers are diverting onto other thoroughfares during this road diet trial, I hate to think of the long-term ramifications of how business could be impacted if this layout is made permanent.
Okay, thank you. And same question to you, Jerry DiTullio.
Thank you. My goals would be to continue to improve our customer service and response times to citizens and businesses at City Hall. We've increased that quite a bit lately. Continue to focus on public safety to keep our neighborhood safe, clean, and peaceful. Continue to implement the least restrictive environment as a business practice so as residents and businesses owners can do business in the city of Wheat Ridge. Continue to encourage our building department to work with our contractors and business owners and not against them. And continue to promote home ownership and improved housing stock via public and private partnerships with such groups as the Wheat Ridge Housing Authority and Wheat Ridge 2020.
Okay, same question to you, Davis.
Well, I think Wheat Ridge is heading in the right direction. I think that we are seeing a lot of new business activity. Some of the major vacant sites in the city are getting a lot of attention. As I mentioned in my introductory speech, the fact is that we're getting new investment. Property values are going up. crime is down and we're moving forward. And I think that we've turned, we've put in place over the last probably few years a number of tools to allow people to invest both in their businesses and properties. Many of them run through 2020 home improvement loan programs, the business grant programs for signage to improve the view corridors. And I think that we have the pieces in place. We need to evaluate them and move forward and encourage what I think is going to be a good time for our city.
Thank you. And then to Monica.
I think one of the challenges that face us is growing, modernizing our city, growing, attracting new families here. And I think we need to remember that we have to listen. Let's focus on what the people of Wheat Ridge want, the citizens want, the business owners want, listen to their needs. And, remember that a lot of the businesses that are here on 38th have been here through generations. And they're part of what has helped us grow to where we are now today, and we need to remember that and keep focused on that. I plan to listen and work toward that corridor, find something that works for everybody. And also I want to maintain and provide exceptional social services for our seniors, maintain a well-funded emergency system with our police department, fire department, keep our streets safe, and have exceptional schools for our kids. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's get on to the fourth of the 5 questions, and I'll have Jerry DiTullio pick from the hat.
I tried going the other way.
Thank you. And Jerry, allowing citizen comment at study sessions has increased the number of people speaking at council meetings, but there are still many meetings where the only people speaking are city staff and the council members. Why do you think this is, and what ideas do you have about increasing citizen participation?
Thank you. I've always supported open and transparent communication with constituents regarding via neighborhood meetings, emails, mailings, Facebook, personal and public websites, the Connections newsletter, and the Neighborhood Gazette. One of the things I've supported as mayor and as a former member of council was to televise the planning commission meetings, the city council study sessions, and allowing public comment at study sessions. I've also supported more decisions to be made on the dais at regular council meetings rather than study sessions. I would like to eliminate one study session of each month and instead return to our first Monday meetings with residents and business owners for each council district. It's best when elected officials can get in front of the public to hear about their issues and concerns.
Okay, thank you. And Davis?
Yeah, I'm not sure I accept the underlying premise that there's not a lot of opportunity for the community to participate and give us the voice to the council, and I think our council's been open to it. I hold this meeting tonight as an example that when the community cares, they show up and on issues that they think are important. In the meantime, in my district, we've had regular neighborhood meetings, and I believe all of council's been available. So I don't think that one forum being quiet in terms of citizen input means any more than those issues are either settled or not important. And I think that every 4 years we have this one great opportunity in our democracy to get some real citizen input, and I look forward to hearing it. Thank you.
And Monica?
I don't think that it's a lack of offering an opportunity for them to meet with us or go to a study session. What I think it is they don't feel they're being listened to, really listened to. When I've walked around the neighborhood and I've talked to different people, I talked to Bob and Carolyn, and they said they just feel a real disconnect between them and their thoughts and concerns and city council. It's not that we don't have, that 3 minutes where they can speak before a council meeting or anything. They're just feeling like they're just not being listened to and heard. And I think it's real important to let them know that regardless of what is on their mind, their thoughts, we're here for them, whether we're in District 1, District 2, 3, or 4, or whether we're mayor. A call is returned. You take the time to actually listen to what they have to say, and you may not have the answer all the time, but you make an effort to find that answer. And I think that's what they need to see from us. They need to see us more as an ambassador to our community and with them, and I think it's real important. Thank you.
Okay, and to you, Karen?
I hate to say it, but I feel city staff and council members are ultimately going to do what they want regardless of citizen input. If citizens feel they are not being heard, then citizen input is rather a moot point. I find it interesting that only 24 of the 200 full-time city employees actually live in Wheat Ridge. Maybe citizen input is really worth listening to after all.
Okay, thank you. And we'll move on to the fifth of your 5 questions. I'm going to go back to the left end of the table. Davis Reinhardt will choose. Okay. Davis, the question is, what city ordinances do you think should be repealed or modified, and or what new ordinances should be enacted?
You know, we saw this one coming, and I spent some time thinking about it. And the fact is, I don't think that there's anything jumps out at me as a need for a new ordinance or something that ought to go away. I think what our charge is to continue to evaluate the existing ordinances and see how they're serving the community and adapt them on an ongoing basis. I would call specific attention to the property maintenance ordinances, the level of enforcement that we keep a balance in that. I think we need to, on an ongoing basis, evaluate whether we should be using a property maintenance code in some fashion to try and keep up the values in the community. And although much of it is not ordinance driven, I think it's really critical that we continue to evaluate our processes within the city to make sure it's responsive and open to the community.
Okay, thank you. And same question to you, Monica.
I do agree that we need to keep growing and moving forward and reevaluating everything. One of the things the citizens mentioned to me that they'd like us to look at or revisit is maybe having a trash service that would provide recycling for us. And also, they could also provide like the large item pickups twice a year, which would be something that the city wouldn't have to do and a cost we wouldn't have to incur. It could be something through the trash service that we have. So that's the main thing that I hear out there is they would like to have recycling. It's really important. It's something that's on everyone's mind, and maybe that's something we can revisit with a singular trash service pickup. Thank you.
Okay, same question to you, Karen.
I don't have an opinion at this point in time regarding any city ordinances and whether or not they should be repealed or modified.
Okay, and last one here, Jerry.
Thank you. I'm not aware of any new laws that need to be enacted unless it's a mandate from the federal or state government. And as you know, usually those are unfunded mandates. I think that the city, we had a mayor's building code task force. I think we should have that group meet periodically to review our building codes and our fees to make sure that we're competitive within the Denver metro area, so we're not overcharging, undercharging our contractors and our business owners who want to remodel and redevelop their property. I would rather see council look at policies and procedures that promote, once again, the least restrictive environment in Wheat Ridge so residents and business owners can do business in the city. And that's been my push all 8 years as mayor, is that we can do business in the city and people are moving forward.
Okay, that concludes the question and answer format. I'll now give each of our candidates 1 minute each to make a short summation speech. I'm going to go in the reverse order from what we started. So, Jerry, if you'll give us a 1 minute speech and we'll move on. Thank you.
Thank you. I've enjoyed serving the citizens of Wheat Ridge and the city for 18 years. It's been fun. It's been a great ride. I've enjoyed working with the public. And like I said, I don't believe that there's any career politicians in the city. I believe that every one of you and every one of up here is here for the best interest of the city. I wanted to thank Julie, my wife, and my family for all the support they've given me over the last 18 years working in the city of Wheat Ridge with the phone calls and the emails and the meetings and everything else that they've had to endure. I want to thank my family and friends in the city of Wheat Ridge. I want to thank United Neighborhoods for hosting this forum one more time, and I want to thank Olivia, my student at Wheat Ridge High School, for volunteering to be here tonight. You'll get extra credit in your class. I also want to thank you again from the bottom of my heart for being around with you 18 years. If everything works out, I hope that I will be here another 4 years working with you as your representative on City Council. Thank you.
Okay, and Karen?
The one question we didn't get to answer, I'm going to take care of now that was on there, regarding renters occupy about half of the city's housing. Renters are of concern to me if the property owners, especially ones living out of the state, don't enforce upkeep of the property. I don't care whether it's the renter or property owner that manages the daily upkeep of the rental, but it ultimately is the property owner's responsibility. Let's face it, renters rent for the simple fact of not wanting the hassles of being a homeowner. Not everyone desires or is financially able to own their own home. Therefore, I feel the city shouldn't do anything to increase home ownership. In closing, I would like to say, if elected, I would do my best not only for District 1, but for the entire city of Wheat Ridge. I truly have a vested interest in wanting our city to succeed. I am not afraid to stand up for what I believe to be fair. I know as a city we have to spend money in order to make money. However, I also have great respect for the value of a dollar and the manner in which it is spent. Please feel free to contact me with any questions or concerns you may have regarding my candidacy. I value and welcome citizen input.
Thank you. And Monica?
First off, thank you. Thank you all for coming this evening, giving me an opportunity to kind of let you get to know me a little bit better. The last several years, or few years, I've served on the Wheat Ridge Planning Commission, also a board member of the Jefferson Center for Mental Health, and also on the Wheat Ridge Carnation Festival Board. I believe volunteering is very important, and it feeds my soul personally. I want you to look at me as a new candidate with fresh ideas. I've walked District 1, I've listened to voters, I've understood always that small business is very important to sustaining our community. I believe in strengthening services for our seniors, our families, and all our citizens of Wheat Ridge, our police, schools, fire departments. I'm running for office because I felt my voice wasn't being heard, and I want to be that instrument for our community out there to get their concerns, their thoughts, their likes out there to all of us. I have a website, which is monicaduran.com. My phone number is 720-312-0583, and I would appreciate your support and your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And Davis?
Thank you. I'm running for re-election because I believe I bring a lot of experience and knowledge about government and the needs of the city, and I believe we've got to a critical point, and I would like to be a part of moving the city forward, going forward. My background is engineering, and I've worked on development projects my whole life, many of them in the public realm, and I've had long years of experience talking to community groups and trying to understand their input, and then taking that in and adding that to the fact-based that go with that, and trying to sort all that out and come to a decision based on the facts and the people's desire, and trying to find that compromise that can be so hard to reach. I think I've served the city well prior to council on various boards and commission, and hope to serve the city again for 4 more years. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that concludes question and answers from our District 1 candidates. Let's all give them a round of applause. And then we'll get ready for our District 2 candidates. I've been told that many of our candidates so far, we can't hear very well. So I want to point out to you that you might want to pull the microphone really close to you and make sure you're speaking clearly into that tonight. So we're on to our District 2 candidate and council race here. We have 2 candidates, Chad Haar and Zach Urban. We'll start out by giving them each an opportunity to make a 1-minute introduction speech. And we'll start with Chad.
I'd like to thank United Neighbors for hosting this. I'm Chad Haar, and I love living in Wheat Ridge. If you look at my hands, they're a little rough and calloused and beat up. It's because I like to get up in the morning, put my boots on, and roll up my sleeves and go to work. It's just the kind of guy I am, and it's the kind of attitude I'll bring to City Council. I've been a city resident of Wheat Ridge for 10 years, and my wife and I have three fantastic kids. One of them is in elementary school, the other is in middle school, and McKenna, our oldest, is high school at Wheat Ridge High School, and she's a cheerleader there. We are invested in Wheat Ridge, and I love to volunteer. Kim and I started Trunk or Treat, which is in Wheat Ridge. We've had over 400 kids show up to it last year. We started Chicks in the Ridge garden tour. And and I'm also a board member of Wheat Ridge 2020, the Cultural Commission, and the liaison to Jefferson County Public Schools for Wheat Ridge.
Thank you. And Zach Urban.
Thank you. Thank you, United Neighbors, for hosting this event. Really appreciate all the volunteer hours that went into promoting this event. And thank you all who took the time to wait to get to us to see what we have to say. Wheat Ridge is our home. For me, it's my family's home. It's the place where my business is. It's where I practice my faith. It's where I live my life. It's where my wallet is. It's our home. As your candidate for City Council, I have knocked on your door to seek your vote. But more importantly, I have knocked on your door to introduce myself to you and to your family, because this is important as your next City Council member to have an open and honest dialogue with the residents of our district, to be accessible, to be transparent, to be thoughtful in our decisions. And to this end, I would ask you to visit my website, zacurban.org, to complete a community survey. I've created this survey to actively listen to the residents' voices and understand where my constituents lie as far as their opinions and their ideas, and that will help me be a better representative for our district. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's move straight into the question and answer format. I'll start with Chad Haar and asking the very first of the two mandatory questions. Chad, the city has implemented a temporary reduction of traffic lanes on the eastern end of 38th Avenue in an effort to create a more bike, pedestrian, and business-friendly environment. Should this be made permanent? And how do you propose the city remedy the many concerns and complaints about the current design while balancing other community and business interests?
This brings to mind that Kevin Costner movie, If You Build It, They Will Come. And they have come. Wheat Ridge has become, the 38th Avenue corridor has become our downtown area. It is a place for citizens to gather. We had over 5,000 people attend 3 events last year. And this doesn't count all the other smaller events that have happened on 38th Avenue. 35 new businesses have started in the corridor. A 15% tax increase has gone up in just that corridor alone. I know several new businesses that moved into the corridor based on the lane reduction plan. And, it will kill their business if we take it back to 4 lanes. They're not excited about it. They do not want it to happen. And, if we're having 35 new businesses move into the corridor for that reason, I think it's something we should keep. The average traffic speed when it was 4-lane was 47 miles an hour in a 35-mile-an-hour zone. And really, now the speeds are lower than 35 miles per hour. So I really think that this is the way that we need to keep moving forward.
Okay, and same question to you, Zachary Urban.
Thank you. As your next City Council member, one of my jobs is to be able to understand both sides of the issue and understand that there are people for and against the road diet on 38th. Where I see common ground is everybody wants to see good business thriving on 30th Avenue. I want to be able to continue to bring my family and walk up to 30th Avenue and have a great time shopping, eating, drinking, and gathering on 30th Avenue. And that will continue regardless of whether Chad or I are elected to office. One of the ways in which I differ from Chad is that I do not believe that the road diet is an effective use of our taxpayer money. I've listened to the voters in District 2, and a majority of those voters have told me specifically that they do not visit 38th because of the road diet, and that disheartens me. I want everybody to experience what I experience when I go to 38th. And so because of that, on my website, I provided very specific graphic representation of what I would propose to be a middle-of-the-road compromise between what is currently the road diet and what should be a 4-lane and is a 4-lane road that extends across the West Metro area. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's go to the second of the two questions, and I'll start with Zach Urban. The question is, city staff indicate that current city taxes are not enough to fund services or construction and maintenance of the city's infrastructure, such as roads and drainage systems. Do you agree or disagree that the city is underfunded? And if so, how should the city fund the gap?
Thank you. I do agree that the city does have some financial struggles at this point in time, and those financial struggles remind me of my experience in working with homeowners who were facing foreclosure and helping them go through their budget. I've worked with more than 2,000 individual families facing foreclosure and helping them develop a household budget and understand the differences between income and expenses, and being able to come up with a solid plan for how to move forward in getting out of financial struggles. And part of that plan, there's two basic parts. You've got to both increase revenue and you've got to decrease expenses. And the one thing that bothers me in the current plan that was proposed to raise sales tax is that doesn't look at the other side of the issue, which is to cut expenses. And we really haven't taken a hard look at that. And if we go to the voters and ask them for more money, their first question is, what do you need it for? And are we spending everything else that we have available in the most appropriate way? And I don't think that we are. I think there are places where we can cut some expenses and be able to do that appropriately. Thank you.
Thank you. And same question to you, Chad.
You know, we're a grocery store economy. We basically live off the sales tax of the grocery stores and maybe one liquor store. You know, the property taxes generated for the city are only $730,000 a year, or basically $35 per household, which breaks down to about $2.91 a month, which is less than a Starbucks. So, you know, I think we really kind of need to take a look at the property tax issue if you look at it that way. You know, Golden, which is a city half the size of ours, generates about $5 million in property taxes a year. They have some other expenses. They have a fire department that they have to maintain as well. But if you look at it that way, it's something we should look at. You know, our sales tax is lower than neighboring cities, and we need to make adjustments. You know, I'm not a guy for taxing. I really am not. I don't like to have high taxes, but I think we should be on par with the rest of the cities around us. And, you know, I want to live in a city that's well-maintained, that has great sidewalks and great streets, and wonderful city amenities for the citizens of Wheat Ridge. So my thought is, you know, we really need to look at what our taxing issues are right now and maybe bring them up to what the rest of the metro area is like. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And let's move on to the next question. I'll have this question drawn by Chad Haar. And the question to you, Chad. Most candidates say that they are in favor of economic development to improve the tax base. Do you have specific proposals in this area?
You know, I do. You know, one of the things is that we need to start attracting higher-end businesses to Wheat Ridge. You know, there's a Family Dollar that's going to be going in on 44th and Wadsworth. It's not the type of businesses that we need to be here in Wheat Ridge. I mean, I know the demographics show that we, you know, have a lot of lower income, but we also have a lot of seniors who are retired that aren't showing their income, like my parents. You know, they travel outside the city to Golden, to Lakewood, to Denver to buy most of the stuff they want or go to dinner because, you know, they're not finding the amenities in the city that in Wheat Ridge. You know, we really don't need to, here's my thing. You know, my family does most of its shopping outside the city as well, to be honest with you. And you know, it bothers me quite a bit. We eat here, but I can only eat, you know, at so many restaurants, and then we go outside the city. So my thought is that let's really work at bringing higher-end retail in here.
And same question to you, Zach.
Thank you. My focus in developing the economy in Wheat Ridge starts at home. And when I look at the homeownership rate in Wheat Ridge at 55%, and compare that to Arvada's 75% and the state of Colorado average at 65%, the bottom line is we have room to improve. That room for improvement isn't a degradation or any sort of value judgment on a person making the choice to rent versus own. That has nothing to do with it. It's providing a path towards home ownership for people who want to purchase a home in Wheat Ridge. Encourage people to move into Wheat Ridge, young families looking in Denver and seeing that we have a lot more to offer to them. And that then provides us with a higher home ownership rate, which then allows retailers to make a less risky decision to operate in Wheat Ridge. And that's really what it boils down to, is when we look at those higher end retailers like Trader Joe's and others, they're looking at the bottom line. And if they see a low home ownership rate, they're going to go to another location that has a population with a higher home ownership rate. And that's as simple as it gets. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's get on to the next question. And Zachary Urban, if you'll draw from the hat. Zach, the question is, do you think there is a need for more bicycle and pedestrian facilities in the city? If so, where in particular, and how should they be funded?
Thank you. One of the areas that I think needs some attention is what we call the gauntlet between Arvada and Wheat Ridge on Wadsworth. I see a lot of people, my business is right there on 44th and Wadsworth, and I look out my window and I see a lot of people who basically risk their lives to ride a bike between Wheat Ridge and Arvada through the gauntlet, and that definitely is an area that needs to be fixed. One very specific way, and I don't know that anybody in this room is aware of this, but the state of Colorado has a bicycle and pedestrian coordinator. Her name is Betsy Jacobson. She works for the State Department of Transportation, and their job is to help identify funding opportunities and ways to attract funding for those types of projects and encourage more biking and more walking in the neighborhoods, and I would fully support that. I'd also like to continue to see bike lanes on 30th Avenue. I think that's a great place to continue to promote and encourage biking and walking. And in 2012, the Federal Highway, thank you.
Great, same question to you, Chad.
You know, I'm for more bike paths and pedestrian paths. You know, it's been thrown out there that we can take 38th Avenue back to 4 lanes and put bike paths on 38th Avenue. And I've talked to the city planners about it, and they really said between Depew and Pierce, you can't do it. It's just not wide enough. And also, you know, who wants to really ride their bike when traffic is going 47 miles per hour down that corridor when the lanes go back to 4 lanes? I mean, it's just crazy. I wouldn't want to do it myself. You know, Wheat Ridge is really the dead space between Golden and Denver and Lakewood and Arvada. I mean, we're kind of the whole of the donut when it comes to the pedestrian and bike path range. These cities actually have asked Wheat Ridge to improve their bike path connectivity to them so that now we can be able to ride into each other's cities and get through and go downtown. A lot of bicyclists would like to see that happen. You know, we need to connect our bike paths. We already have an established plan. We just have to implement it. It's there, and the city has the time to do it.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. It'll actually be the last of the 5, and we'll have Chad draw a question there.
Well, I got like 3. All right. Oh, you're supposed to see that.
Chad, the question is, the city has granted funds to Wheat Ridge 2020 for buying and upgrading homes for resale and also for other neighborhood and business revitalization events and projects. Describe how or if you think this funding has been beneficial to the city, and what are your thoughts for future funding for Wheat Ridge 2020?
You know, 4 years ago, Wheat Ridge 2020 received $2.5 million from the feds for the neighborhood stabilization program. That money was a federal program that went into neighborhoods where Wheat Ridge 2020 actually bought, purchased, and revitalized homes. And, you know, revitalized rundown homes in the neighborhoods, you know, such as mine. There's several in my area that got revitalized, and they're little gems on the blocks right now, which is fantastic. You know, last year, Wheat Ridge 2020 asked for $150,000 for the home improvement and building up business loan program. This year, Wheat Ridge 2020 is only asking for $50,000 because those are actually loans that generate interest and get paid back. So we don't need the money that we've had in the past. And this has really helped out the city. You know, in comparison, the Active Adult Center receives about $500,000 a year to run the Active Adult Center from the city compared to what Wheat Ridge 2020 is asking just to revitalize homes within the area.
Okay, and same question to you, Zach.
Thank you. In understanding and trying to get my hands around this question, one thing that I attempted to do was to find the Wheat Ridge 2020 annual report. The break down the financials. I was able to find the IRS 990 forms that tell you how much the organization has expended and received, and that provides some good numbers to work with. But one thing that I would like to see is Davis Reinhardt mentioned, facts and figures. I want to see the return on investment that the city has received, and I think that in some cases that has been well documented, and Wheat Ridge 2020 has done a great job in producing return on investment for the city. But as they come back to the well year after year, there needs to be a continued effort to see what kinds of return on investment we're getting by providing funding for that organization. Just as any other organization might come to the city of Wheat Ridge, we need to make sure that we are investing our money in the best way possible. And that may be Wheat Ridge 2020, maybe some other organization, but we need to be very thoughtful in this time of financial struggle as to who and where we put our money. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So that concludes the question and answer. I'm now going to give each of you 1 minute to make a summation. We'll start with Zach Urban.
I'm proud to be the father of 2 children born at Lutheran. My wife and I are proud to know that our children will be 5th generation Coloradoans and Wheat Ridge natives. I'm seeking your vote this November for the position of City Council member because I believe that my unique leadership skills will benefit not just our district, but the entire city. I have founded my career on the premise that we can do things better, that we can work together, and you'll see by those that support me, I have supporters from Democrats to Republicans to independents, and from both sides of the issue on 38th. And my role as your next city council member is to bring all those disparate parties together to try to work together as a city to find the common ground, to work on those issues that we need to get through. And as your next city council member, I feel like I can do a very good job for you, and I would really appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Okay, and Chad.
You know, people who know me, I'm a really laid-back, easy-going guy who likes to listen to both sides of everything and then come back and form an opinion. And, you know, I can disagree with you, and we can still be friends. I think that's the kind of leadership that I can bring to city council. You know, the reason I love living in Wheat Ridge is really the quiet streets, the small-town feeling, and you can get to know your neighbors. I mean, and the connectivity to downtown and the mountains is just fantastic because I'm an active guy. I like to do active things. So, you know, the one thing that I'm committed to Wheat Ridge through my actions and the things that I've done in the past. The volunteering I've done. I think I've seen a lot of faces here come into a lot of the volunteer type of events that we've had, be it the mid-mod tour, some of the things that have happened on 38th Avenue. You know, I'm running for city council because someone is going to ask my children in 25 years, where are you from? And I want them to be proud and say they're from Wheat Ridge. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes what we're here from our District 2 candidates. Let's give them a round of applause, and thank you both very much. If we could get our District 3 candidates now up to the table. And I'm going to introduce one of my co-moderators, Rhonda Champion. She's going to give me a break from the podium here, and will moderate for the District 3 and District 4 races.
Okay, we'll go ahead and hear from the 2 individuals who are running for City Council in District 3. I'd like to remind you again to have the mic a little bit closer so that people can hear. So our 2 challengers are Richard Dick Matthews and Tim Fitzgerald. So I'd like to give each of you a minute to introduce yourselves. Mr. Fitzgerald?
Well, I'm Tim Fitzgerald. I actually have lived in Wheat Ridge almost all my life. I went to schools here, elementary, junior high, and high school here. Lived in Arvada for a while, too. Basically, I'm running because I'm at that time in my life where I've already done what I have to do, and I have nothing to gain and no goals to go on to I'm not aspiring to anything else. Well, I'm at the time in my life when I can try and do good, and that's essentially what I want to do. I'm inspired to run because, as I said, I was a kid here in Wheat Ridge, and Wheat Ridge is essentially the same as it was then. 38th Avenue, for example, looks almost exactly the same way it did years and years and years ago. And we look and oops, I got the hook. Thanks.
Thank you for honoring that. Mr. Matthews?
My name is Dick Matthews, and I am running for City Council in District 3. Some of you may recognize me because I have owned and operated a certified public accounting practice in Wheat Ridge for more than 30 years. I've been active in the community. I currently am on the Planning Commission. I'm currently the treasurer of the Wheat Ridge Business District. I'm treasurer of the Wheat Ridge Rotary Club, and have stayed fairly active in the community. Some of you may not know me, though. You may know my wife, Sue, who is my wife of 30 years, and she was active in the Prospect Valley and the Wheat Ridge High Parent-Teacher-Student Association. So you may know her, and yes, I'm married to her. There are several ways that my training and experience can benefit the city. It is your tax money. As a certified public accountant, I am qualified to audit and review financial data, and it's your tax money. You deserve that type of careful stewardship. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we'll go to the first of the two required questions. Mr. Fitzgerald, would you like to answer the first?
Sure, 38th Avenue probably, right?
The city has implemented a temporary reduction of traffic lanes on the eastern end of 38th Avenue in an effort to create a more bike, pedestrian, and business-friendly environment. Should this be made permanent? And how do you propose the city remedy the many concerns and complaints about the current design while balancing other community and business interests?
Well, the experiment's been very successful. I mean, the facts are the facts. We have all these new businesses. Some businesses that have been there many years have spent money renewing their storefronts. They've decided that it's worth it for them to spend money and to stay. And the 34 new businesses are spending their own money betting that it's going to be a success. As I said, 38th Avenue's looked the same for years upon years upon years. And so if you could renew 38th by doing nothing, it would have worked. It didn't. Now, however, it is working. As several have already said, tax revenue is up. So businesses are succeeding. Even though there may be a few that are not, the whole is the businesses are succeeding. The other thing is look at the cities around us. All those cities have used road diets, and they've been successful.
Thank you. Mr. Matthews.
Yes, the city has been searching for a central business district similar to Arvada and Golding for as long as I can remember. And in fact, the park over by the post office is actually called the Town Center Park because I think at one time that was the plan. I think 38th Avenue between Upham and Quay has got the potential to become our central business district. But I would make 3 changes to the current plan. The safety problem right in front of the Dragonfly where the lanes are constricted on eastbound needs to be fixed, and the safety issues need to be addressed in that area. The back-end parking should be eliminated. The road diet from Sheridan to Quay should be replaced with a continuation of the streetscape program that was done years ago from Sheridan to Harlan. I voted against the 38th Avenue plan on Planning Commission simply because the study said there'd be no diversion of the traffic from 38th Avenue to the surrounding neighborhoods, and I didn't think that was a credible part of that study. Come to find out, that is true.
Thank you. And the second question, Mr. Matthews, would you like to answer this first, please? Thank you. City staff believes that the current city taxes are not enough to fund services or construction and maintenance of the city's infrastructure, such as roads and drainage systems. Do you agree or disagree that the city is underfunded? And if so, how should the city fund that gap?
I'm going to assume that this question is actually about the sales tax ballot proposal that the mayor vetoed. Our sales tax rate should allow our merchants to compete with our neighbors. I would like to have the field tilted a little bit in favor of the Wheat Ridge businesses. I would not support a proposal that made our tax rate higher than our neighbors. Our local brick and mortar businesses already have intense price competition from the internet. They don't need to have a disadvantage with their neighbors. City has a quality budgeting process. Staff gave programs a priority rank along with the cost of those programs. There are possible savings of about $3 million per year in the programs in the bottom quartile, the bottom 1/4. We need to focus on getting a good value for our tax dollars, then talk about more money from the taxpayers. The sales tax proposal vetoed by the mayor violated the parent rule. When your kids come and ask for money, the first question is, what are you going to spend it on? That ballot proposal did not answer that question.
Thank you. Now the first of the three questions. Mr. Fitzgerald, would you pick the first, please?
Sure. And do I get to do the sales tax?
My apologies.
Yeah, okay. Save the question. This is another case of a lot of misinformation. Our sales tax is slightly lower than all the cities surrounding us. Our property tax is very much lower than all the cities around us. And we have no special districts. The city staff has made it clear that we don't have enough money to fund our maintenance needs. And the council voted unanimously to send it to, or not unanimously, but with a large majority, to send that to the voters. And in a democracy, the people get to vote. So people could have chosen and should choose whether or not they want to maintain their streets or whether they want lower taxes. I'm absolutely in favor of sending that to a vote of the people.
Thank you. Now the first of the three questions.
New question? Okay.
Allowing citizen comment at study sessions has increased the number of people speaking at city council meetings, but there are still many meetings where the only people speaking are city staff and the council members. Why do you think this is, and what ideas do you have about increasing citizen input?
We have a representative democracy. The people get to decide what they approve of every election, and they appoint people to carry out their wishes and to be the people who really study the issues in depth. We have a very open government as it is already. Every meeting is televised. Even at the study session, people can speak to express their views if they have something to say. But it is true they're not allowed to have dialogue with the council members because the purpose of a study session is to study an issue. They have plenty of other opportunity to make their opinions known. So I think the way it is right now is perfectly open and perfectly adequate.
Thank you. Mr. Matthews?
Thank you. I serve on the Planning Commission and am disappointed by how often people complain that the notice for the meeting was inadequate. I am probably going to lose any chance that a newspaper will endorse me, but the legal notices in the newspapers are not effective. The agendas and packets are published on the city website, and those are very good. But we should be using Channel 8 more to give notice of the meetings. And for land use issues, I would even consider using robocalls to notify the neighborhood of meetings. I value citizen participation. On the Planning Commission, I read the packet, I walk the neighborhood before the meeting. And yes, I am leaning one way or the other when I go into that meeting, but often based on the citizen input, I actually change my mind. So the citizens should continue to participate. We do listen.
Thank you. Second question, would you like to pick that, please? Renters occupy about half of the city's housing. Does this concern you? And if so, what do you think the city should do to increase home ownership? Mr. Matthews?
There undoubtedly are economic benefits to home ownership, and it promotes stability in the community. I think we all want to live in a stable and prosperous community, but not all rentals are created equal. The problems might be passive and absentee landlords. Some of our rental property is stable and an asset to the community. I would like to see a carrot and stick approach used for our rental properties. Classes are available to first-time homeowners. We should provide classes for landlords. They should be provided resources to obtain credit reports and background checks on possible tenants. Absentee landlords should be notified when there has been a police service request on their property. We can make it easier to have abandoned cars removed. The stick would be proactive code enforcement. Maybe the penalty for code violations could be waived for taking landlord classes.
Thank you. Mr. Fitzgerald?
Okay, in the interest of full disclosure, I'm a landlord. So I've been a landlord for 30 years. It's the way I earn my living now, and I'm a good landlord. All of my properties are very well kept and very well maintained. But the statistic that is given in this question is really a statistic that tells a lie, because it may be true technically that 50% of the people in Wheat Ridge are renters, but it really isn't true in fact. We have a lot of apartment houses in our city. Our city's small, so it's easy for the figure to be skewed. And let's be practical. Not everybody today can afford a house, can afford to buy a house. And there's virtually nothing the city can do to change that. Our apartment houses are still going to be there. The city can't change that. So I don't see this question as being one of the most important issues before the city.
Thank you. And the third and final question, Mr. Fitzgerald, would you
Sure.
pick that, please? What city ordinances do you think should be repealed or modified, and or what new ordinances do you feel should be enacted?
I'm unaware of anything that needs to be repealed, so I'll just say that. And we have some problems that we should take a look at. One of them is not an ordinance, but our charter. Our charter is very old and has in it some building code items that make it impossible for us to change without going to a vote of the people. And it restricts us, and that's one of the reasons why we have a hard time getting new businesses and new residential areas, is because it really can't be done according to the building codes that are in the charter. The other thing that concerns me is the whole idea that businesses should be in a least restrictive possible environment. Businesses are citizens too, and they should be responsible just like homeowners, and we need code enforcement on business.
Thank you. Mr. Matthews.
Thank you. The recent unauthorized disclosure of sales tax information should be addressed. The city treasurer should be the direct supervisor of the sales tax department as required by the city charter. The city charter currently is being ignored. There should be an elected official in charge and not the city manager. Additional safeguards for the confidentiality of tax records should be enacted. And then to go on to other things, we should simplify and streamline the process for property owners to organize private improvement districts. The key to a sustainable business district that we're all agree that we would like to create is keyed on having private improvement districts. Code enforcement should be proactive and not based on citizen complaints. When a person gets a weed citation, they spend more time wondering which neighbor snitched on them than they do correcting the problem. This creates distrust and hostility in the neighborhood. I would suggest a code enforcement theme for each month that is broadcast right on Channel 8. Maybe August could be Weed Month. Maybe September could be Junk Car Month.
Thank you. All right, now we'd like to give each of you an opportunity for a 1-minute summation. Mr. Fitzgerald?
I think you can see from the interviews we've had so far that there's really a pretty clear division among the candidates. Some folks here really don't want to change anything. And I just wanted to tell you straight out, I do want to change something. I want the city to move forward. I want us to keep up with Arvada, Lakewood, and even Denver. Denver's done some great things. Tennyson Street as an example. Golden has completely redone their downtown. And we essentially have done nothing. We have many opportunities. Highlands, the growth in Highlands is moving our way. We just need to capture that. So that's what I'm all about. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Matthews?
Thank you. I'd like to thank the Wheat Ridge United Neighbors for hosting this forum tonight. They have really done a great job. But what you see tonight really is just the tip of the iceberg. They had to send out the invitations. They had to gather and sift through all of these questions. They had to schedule it and everything. And they are accepting volunteers in the future to share that burden. So if you want to, you can contact our moderator, Michael Snow, to get involved in that. But the biggest people I would like to thank tonight is I would like to thank the voters for taking the time to become informed voters. That is what will be the real key to having a city where our children will want to raise our grandchildren. I have the training and experience to benefit you and the city. I would appreciate your support. My name is Dick Matthews, and I am running for Wheat Ridge City Council in District 3. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now if we could have our candidates for City Council, District 4. We have running for City Council in District 4 are Joseph DeMott, the incumbent, and Genevieve Wooden, the challenger. I'd like to give each of you 1 minute to introduce yourselves. Ms. Wooden?
My name is Genevieve Wooden. I've been a resident of District 4 for 19 years. I currently work as, a property manager and a real estate agent in the area. My previous work experience includes law firm administration, human resources, and I was a stay-at-home mom for several years. My community involvement includes volunteering in the schools, including serving on the PTA. I have worked with Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. I've worked with kids' sports teams. I've been a board member on Wheat Ridge 2020 for about 3 years, and I also serve on the Wheat Ridge Cultural Commission. I'm running for City Council because I want to be part of the growth and development of this city and create a positive and prosperous Wheat Ridge.
Thank you. Mr. DeMott.
Thank you. My name is Joe DeMott, and I am asking for your vote for re-election for City Council District 4. My wife and I are both Wheat Ridge natives. We're raising 2 young children here. I'm a business owner celebrating 50 years in my family's business at our location at Pietra's Pizzeria. I've been a member of council since 2009. I'm the chairman of the Wheat Ridge Business District. I'm also the chairman of the Wheat Ridge Housing Authority and a Carnation Festival executive board members. I've learned a great deal in the last 4 years and met many incredible people. I've gained immeasurable knowledge with regards to budgeting, management, and teamwork that I carry to all aspects of my personal and business life. I've enjoyed my years serving the city of Wheat Ridge, and if re-elected, my goals will remain very much the same: to take advantage of my experience with working with many different generations of Wheat Ridge's demographics. More importantly is to honor our community roots while guiding our community through local and regional challenges.
Thank you. All right, the first of the two required questions. Mr. DeMott, would you please answer the first? The city has implemented a temporary reduction of traffic lanes on the eastern end of 38th Avenue in an effort to create a more bike, pedestrian, and business-friendly environment. Should this be made permanent? And how do you propose the city remedy the many concerns and complaints about the current design while balancing other community and business interests?
Thank you. The road diet is merely a fraction of the entire plan. It is one aspect that I've steadfastly opposed. The elimination of 2 lanes of traffic have devastated many businesses, and a permanent reduction in just the construction time alone of keeping those businesses closed will put a chokehold on even the most resilient businesses in the area. Bringing 38th Avenue to 4 lanes with bike lanes and new streetscape to incorporate more pedestrian-friendly walkways is a win for citizens and business owners and will bring 100% of the city back to 38th Avenue. We can then accentuate the positive aspects of redevelopment that create an environment that is suitable for business to thrive there.
Thank you. Ms. Wooden?
The road diet was implemented as part of recommendations for creating a main street along 38th. And the purpose was to slow down traffic and create a barrier between the traffic and the businesses and the pedestrian walkway and the bikeway. That's exactly what it did. It slowed down traffic. Traffic was previously 47 miles per hour. It slowed it down to 36 and less. The travel time was only increased from Wadsworth to Sheridan by a little over a minute. So in my view, it did exactly what it was supposed to do. It slowed down traffic. We want people to stop in Wheat Ridge. We don't want them to rush through as quickly as they can. We want them to stop, get out of their car, and shop. Cars don't buy things, people do. And we need to get the cars to stop, get the people out, and into our community.
Thank you. The second of the required questions, Ms. Wooden, would you address this one, please? City staff believes that current city taxes are not enough to fund services or construction and maintenance of the city's infrastructure, such as roads and drainage systems. Do you agree or disagree that the city is underfunded, and if so, how should the city fund that gap?
Well, obviously we are underfunded or these problems would go away, but they have not. They've persisted. We still have drainage issues and we still have infrastructure issues. I was in support of the tax increase, and this is why. The sales tax in Wheat Ridge is over 60% of that comes from people who don't even live here. So if we want a fairly painless way to create tax income for our city, a tax increase would be it, because if 60% of the people buying, they're either coming through here on work, or they do work here, or they're here for other reasons, but they would help us create an income. So I am in support of the sales tax increase. As far as the stormwater, I really feel like maybe we should look at a stormwater utility, because these problems are not going away. It's going to continue to rain and we're going to continue to flood.
Thank you. Mr. DeMott.
I was a little confused about this question because I do not think that staff believes we are underfunded. As a matter of fact, we have a proposed balanced budget. The budget calls for the status quo. We pay the police, we take care of the streets, and we do what little we can to incentivize business. But what we all want is something better. And to get that something better, we need to do something about the funding. I hear it time and again. I'll use the analogy that I've used 100 times in the last few years. One of the small fish in the small pond and the big fish in the big pond. We just can't compete when it comes to large projects. I supported the sales tax increase because I believe a tax on spending is the best way to go. We've been presented other ways, such as stormwater utilities. We've even heard about exorbitant water tap fees. We've heard about road fees and taxes. But these are devastating to businesses. We enjoy in Wheat Ridge the lowest of property tax, and
thank you. All right, the first of the three questions, the last three questions. Most candidates say that they are in favor of economic development to improve the tax base. Do you have a specific proposal in this area? Mr. DeMott.
I just knew this question would come up. It was the only one I didn't fill out in here. This is an extremely broad question. It took me more time to think of an answer on this one than any of them. I'm keeping mainly to my district in this District 4. And speaking of the gold line, we're working hard and will continue to provide a vision for the transit-oriented development. This includes tools and incentives for new and existing citizens and businesses. Economic development is a balance between these things, and improving the base with housing and workplaces is a sensible and fair practice.
Thank you. Ms. Wooden?
Regarding economic development, I believe as a council member, if I am elected, that it is my duty to create the atmosphere for development. So I do not have any specific plans for development, but I do believe it's important that we create the atmosphere for new business and development in our city. If we don't have the amenities that our residents want, and that includes restaurants, housing, services, stores to shop at, they're going to go somewhere else. And if they do, then we lose that tax income. So it is important that we create a very sound economic plan, but most importantly, it's important that we put it into action.
Thank you. The second question will be? Thank you. Allowing citizen comment at study sessions has increased the number of people speaking at council meetings, but there are still many meetings where the only people speaking are city staff and the council members. Why do you think this is, and what ideas do you have about increasing citizen participation?
I believe that residents are interested in the city. They may not attend the council meetings and they may not talk then, but they are interested. And I thought this was very evident at the town hall meeting that was held a few months ago. I think that having some more of those town hall meetings would be very important and beneficial to us. And in addition to that, have more frequent, but have more of a dialogue. I know at the last meeting they were trying to give out information, which is what happened, but having more of a dialogue in district town meetings would be a way for citizens to interact with council. Other ways for citizens to get involved would be the Civic Academy, the Wheat Ridge 2020 Planning Academy, and helping serve on boards and commissions, so making all of that available and giving the information out to our residents.
Thank you. And the final, I'm sorry, Mr. DeMott.
I do believe we do a great job of involving everyone in our discussions, and we do adhere completely with open meetings laws. That's sometimes why you don't get to see the back and forth in the study sessions and the meetings. Study sessions are really council's only chance to really discuss with each other certain items. Because of open meetings laws, we don't discuss them anywhere else. So this is our time to really sit and talk and discuss with each other and find out what they've heard and what they think. Along with that, I do think we should have quarterly district meetings that we could actually listen and learn how the public minds change over different topics that we're discussing, and we can stay current with them as well.
Thank you. The third and final question. Mr. DeMott, can you pick that, please? What city ordinances do you think should be repealed or modified, and what new ordinances should be enacted? Mr. DeMott.
No single ordinance really comes to mind. I've never been a huge fan of what we call our streetscape manual. I think it deters improvements to existing properties. I think it'd be good if we could look at that as a one-on-one project basis. It currently only uses the vision of complete redevelopment, and we try to squeeze that into some of these smaller properties that are just mainly trying to do small remodels. If we were able to modify, we would see that the freedom of choice would net a greater return than the restrictions we put on property improvements currently through the streetscape manual.
Thank you. Ms. Wooden.
In general, I favor less government, so I don't have any specific ordinances that I feel should be repealed or put into place right now. If elected, I would like to work with the community and the council on any ordinances that people feel are an issue and need to be changed or modified. One item was mentioned earlier that I have a great interest in, and that's a recycling and trash program for our city. So that is one issue I think should be researched a little bit more and brought out to the citizens.
Thank you. Would you like to continue on that with your summation?
I'm really excited about the future for Wheat Ridge, and I think we are at a turning point right here with our city. I want us to see us move ahead. I want to see the city of Wheat Ridge move forward. It seems like we're stuck in some kind of a time warp, and it would be exciting to see the city move forward in a lot of ways. We have different families coming in, we have younger families coming in, and to serve those families in addition to our citizens that are already here, and to make the intergenerational aspect of our city a very much positive and creative endeavor for our city. I would very much like to serve the city and volunteer on city council, and I would ask you to consider voting for me.
Thank you. Mr. DeMott.
Thank you. I, of course, want to thank the Wheat Ridge United Neighbors for their time and effort on this forum. Also, I will continue to work with what I've concentrated on in the last 4 years. Some of those include maintaining a strong and well-trained police department. The last 4 years, I was honored to see firsthand our Wheat Ridge Police Department receive law enforcement's most prestigious national accreditation by the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, or we call it CALEA. We share this honor with less than 10% of agencies across this country, and I'm proud of our entire force for working so hard to achieve these grueling standards. Defending personal property rights. I have worked hard to increase council and staff confidence to maintain current land uses and key redevelopment zones in the city. Guiding economic development while preserving the qualities that continue to make Wheat Ridge a great place to raise a family, and protecting the balance of history and progress. Again, I'm Joe DeMott, and I ask for your vote in November. Have a good night, and thank you everybody for staying all the way till the District 4.
Thank you. We are a little bit behind, but we do want to take an intermission now. We'll reconvene at 5 after 9. Thank you.
Good evening. You are watching the second half now of the 2013 Wheat Ridge United Neighborhoods Election Forum. Earlier this evening, we heard from all the candidates for our mayor and council races in the city of Wheat Ridge. The second half of the program tonight will feature the candidates that you'll see on your ballot for the 3 district school board races in Jefferson County. Tonight, you will get to hear just a short 3-minute speech by each of those candidates. We will start with the District 1 school board candidates in Jefferson County. The first of those candidates is Tanya Altman Bettridge. Welcome, Tanya.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here this evening and staying, well, past the 9 o'clock hour to hear about the very important issues facing our school board right now. My name is Tanya Altman Bettridge, and I'm running for the school board in District 1, which is the north part of the county, Arvada and Westminster. But it's important for everyone to know that the school board elections are countywide. So there are 3 open seats. Each voter in Jefferson County will get to vote for each of those 3 seats. Like I said, my name is Tanya, and I'm running for the school board in Jefferson County because I believe in the students of Jefferson County. I'm the proud mom of an 8th grade student who goes to Mandalay Middle School in Westminster, and I've had an amazing opportunity to help out with not only his school, but to volunteer helping other mothers and other parents throughout our school district work through their PTAs and other parent organizations to engage parents in education. And that's something that I'm very passionate about and I'm very excited about. In addition to that, I've dedicated my entire 20-year career to researching programs and policies that impact the lives of children, youth, and families. I have a doctorate in public administration and policy from CU Denver. And since that time, I have worked to evaluate programs and policies, most of which are funded by taxpayer dollars, to evaluate those programs in child welfare, juvenile justice, and children's mental health to make sure that those programs are setting goals to benefit the lives of children, that they're meeting those goals, and that they're doing so in a cost-effective way. And if I've learned anything in that 20 years of research, I have learned that a solid public education is absolutely the best investment that we can make as a community for our children. An opportunity for a child to receive a high-quality education represents her or his absolute best chance to be a successful adult. I want to make a difference. I care very much about this county. For the past 8 years, I have volunteered countless hours in schools all over the district, and I have benefited way more than anything that I have done for any individual student. I have seen the wonderful look in a child's eyes when he or she participates and wins at the district level at the Reflections Art Program. And I've seen our parents come together and make a difference for a school. I've seen them make their school a community, and I've seen them help improve education and the lives of children, and I'm excited to be a part of that. Thank you so much. My name is Tanya. My website is tanyaforjeffcoschools.com, and I ask you for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. The second challenger for the District 1 Jefferson County School Board race is Julie Williams. Julie?
All right, thank you all. You're all the 1%ers who really are paying attention to what's happening. My name is Julie Williams. I'm running for Jefferson County School Board in District 1, that is in the north area of Jefferson County. A little history on me. I'm a professional and I work with hundreds of school-age children every week. I have the opportunity to build relationships with the children and their families and hear their stories of what is working and what's not in our schools. My husband and I are both Colorado natives. We are products of Jeffco Schools. I graduated from Arvada High School and I married my high school sweetheart. And we've been married 28 years. I'm proud to say we have 2 wonderful children. We have a child who's in 10th grade at Stanley Lake High School, and he's a child with special needs, a child with autism. We also have a 7th grader, just started a new school at Jefferson Academy, and very excited about that. He's a gifted child, but in my eyes, both of our children are gifts. You know, I can think of no higher calling on earth than being a mom. And I want to be the mom's voice on our school board. You know, as I think of the history of our school board, we've had enough educrats on our board. We need someone who's going to bring balance, bring a mom's perspective to that table. I have a friend who's on a school board in a different district, and we've had quite a few conversations, and she says to me, Julie, I don't know what they're doing in Jeffco. We do it different in our district. We listen to the people first, not last, and then we sit down at the table and we work out the issues. We actually talk about them, and by the time we're done, those issues are better than when they were put on the table. I want to be that mom in our district. I want to be the mom's voice for you, the public, the community, who's going to stand strong and bold for our children. With me, you'll have common sense, simple solutions, and the door will always be open to hear your voice, where you will be valued and respected. So thank you. I would appreciate your vote. Julie Williams. That's Julie at williamsforjeffcoschools.com. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Julie, and thank you again, Tanya. The second of the Jefferson County School Board races that Wheat Ridge voters will have on their ballot will be for District 2. Again, there are two candidates for this, or two challengers to this race. The first of them is Jeff LaMontagne. Jeff LaMontagne could not make it tonight, so speaking on his behalf is Sue Wendells. Sue?
Thank you, and good evening, everybody. Yes, I am Sue Wendells, and I am proud to be here to speak on behalf of Jeff LaMontagne. He's really sorry that he couldn't make it tonight, but I was delighted when he asked me to speak on his behalf. You know, I've known Jeff for a long time. In fact, I was thinking it was probably back in about 2001 where he was at a meeting where I was, and we were discussing a very disturbing trend in Jeffco's high schools, and that was an increasing number of teen suicides. And we were all trying to figure out what to do, and Jeff was the one that called together all the business community, the nonprofits, the religious groups, the community groups, the students, the parents, to work on this issue, and he's the one that stepped forward with a solution. He created a nonprofit called the Second Wind Fund. You may have heard about it, and it raises money to help have funds to provide the counseling and support needed for these at-risk kids who are going through a very difficult time in their life that if we don't intervene could be the end of their life. And I know that Jeff has really positively impacted the lives of many students and has probably saved a lot of lives as well. He has been very involved in our Jeffco schools as well. He has two children. They both attend Jeffco schools. His wife is a teacher at Lakewood High School, and he has spent countless hours volunteering at his local school level as well as on district accountability, district councils. He's also been on the board of the Jefferson Foundation that raises money for Jeffco schools. And of course, he volunteers outside the school hours, things like Little League. So he's been a vital and integral part of our school district. But he realizes that it takes more than just parents, teachers, and the students to make a school district. We are all in this together. We know that 84% of the taxpayers in our district don't have kids in schools, and that's why we need someone like Jeff. Someone who has the skills, someone who has the experience to bring everybody together to focus on what is needed to make sure that our kids in Jeffco have a strong education, the education that they need to be tomorrow's leaders, because that's what they'll be. I thank you for this opportunity. This is why, to speak on behalf of Jeff, this is why I ask you to join me in voting for Jeff LaMontagne for District 2. He is the person I believe that can really lead our Jeffco schools forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sue. The second challenger for the District 2 Jefferson County School Board race is John Newkirk, and John is here to speak.
And good evening. My name is John Newkirk, and I'm a candidate for the Jefferson County School Board. Now, that's a phrase I've said a lot over the last few months, and it's only natural that people would want to know why. Why are you doing this, John? Why are you running? I even had one man ask me, why would you want a job that pays you nothing but takes most of your time? Are you crazy? Well, I looked him in the eye and I said, why, yes, sir, I am. I am crazy about great public education. And I'm passionate about turning every Jeffco student into a lifelong learner. And I'm grateful that my education was right here in the Jefferson County Public School System. Now, I first came to Jeffco in 1967. I attended elementary school, middle school, and high school here. And after 5 years of college, I came back to Jefferson County and I started a business. I met my wife, Melissa, who's also a product of the Jeffco schools. She's a Golden High School graduate. And today, we have 3 little girls. As it turns out, we've got one in each phase of the public school system this year, one that just started high school, one in middle school, and our little girl, Sarah, just started kindergarten at Marshdale Elementary. Now, when I started the Jeffco schools, I was leaning towards science, but it wasn't long before a few special Jeffco teachers showed me the beauty and the balance that music and the arts, languages, and literature can bring to our lives. I came very close to becoming a professional classical flute player or a German teacher. But as things turned out, I became an engineer, I became a businessman, a published author, and a writer. But most importantly, I became a father. And today, I want my 3 children and their 85,000 classmates in Jefferson County to have the same access to the same great education I had when I was growing up. Now, we've got our challenges. We have budget challenges. We have class size challenges. We have curriculum challenges. But as we've learned in America, we do not run from our challenges. We run toward them. And that is why I am running for the Jefferson County School Board. And to that end, what I humbly offer Jeffco is one of Jeffco's own, someone that has literally walked the halls of these schools for the last 40 years, someone with 30 years of successful business management experience in Jefferson County, with 20 years of volunteer work for youth, charities, and nonprofits. I've been fortunate to sit on the boards of the Colorado Association of Funders, the largest charitable affinity group in the country. I sit on the board of advisors of the leadership program of the Rockies that brings forth emerging leaders in Colorado, and I serve as commissioner for judicial performance here in Jefferson County as well. My name is John Newkirk. I'm going to ask you to remember that name on the ballot when you get it in a few weeks. John Newkirk for Jefferson County School Board. Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you very much, John. So then the third of the Jefferson County School Board races that Wheat Ridge voters will see on their ballot will be for District 5. The District 5 race will also have 2 challengers. We'll hear from both of them this evening. The first of those 2 is Gordon Spud Van de Water. Gordon?
Good evening. My name is Spud Van de Water. The Spud comes from a baseball player in the 1940s, Spud Chandler with the New York Yankees. My brothers gave it to me when I was a kid because I couldn't find the strike zone pitching batting practice. So I've been Spud for a long time. I'm running for the Jefferson County School Board because I want to see each of the 85,000 students in this district succeed. And that comes home to me personally when I see my grandchildren who are 12, 7, 6, 5, 4, and 3 now. And when they get into school, as most of them already are, and when they do things like read a chapter book and light up because they now have that skill, or have a part in a play that they can be in a Shakespeare play in this case, it gives me a glimpse of what their potential is and how they will grow and what the role of public education is in making them grow that way. So I am in favor of every child having the advantage that I see my grandchildren have. We need to work very hard to make student achievement our #1 goal and to close the achievement gap in this county. That is the context I see for everything the Board of Education has to do. My qualifications include a doctorate in education policy, 30 years working on the education policy realm in more than 30 states as a policy consultant to elected political leaders. I know from that experience that the role of adults in the education system is to prepare the next generation of students so they can be successful in a society that we can only dimly see. To do that, we have to make them skilled learners, good judges of evidence, and compassionate human beings. If we can do that across the county in every school, if every school is a high-performance, high-morale school, we will be doing a good job for the kids in the county. There are many challenges facing Jeffco right now. There are several new initiatives: teacher effectiveness, academic standards, compensation redesign, a new student assessment, even a technology pilot. And I think the role of the board is to integrate these new initiatives into our current plans so that we don't miss a beat and continue to move forward improving student achievement. In conclusion, I'd say I want to be the member of the board that takes this district from a very good district and moves it into the great category. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And the second challenger for the District 5 Jefferson County School Board race is Ken Witt. Ken?
Hi, I'm Ken Witt. I'm running for Jeffco School Board, District 5, which is the South District. And I'm going to remind you just one more time, it's been said once at the beginning, but you will vote for all 3 districts. So remember, regardless of where you live, to pay attention to the District 1, District 2, and District 5 campaign contests. My background is a businessman. I've not spent 30 years in education or education policy. I've spent 30 years in organizations that run efficiently, effectively, meet their goals. I know how to set policy in multi-billion-dollar organizations. I've set policy and compliance in organizations the size of the Jeffco School District. I've made certain that we know how to set goals transparently, that we clearly communicate them, that we measure against our objectives, and that we deliver the results we promised within the resources and budget that was planned for. I have, in my history here in Denver, worked for a number of large organizations, but I've also done startups, small businesses, where you had to get in and figure out what's the right solution to make this program and make this operation work, make it profitable, get to the right answers quickly. I'd like to bring that expertise to the Jeffco School Board. But all of this is just business background and acumen. The truth is, the most important issue is I have a wonderful wife of over 30 years. I have 4 great children, 3 of whom have graduated from public school, 1 of whom is still in public school at Jeffco in Columbine High School. And I found out just a few weeks ago that I'm soon to be a grandfather for the first time. My 23-year-old daughter and her husband just informed me of that. So I will have children in the Jefferson County School District for a long time to come. I'll be involved in public schools. I'll be very invested in what goes on here. I would like to make certain that we are able to deliver access to a high-quality education to every Jeffco student. It is critical that we make certain that we are delivering that quality education throughout the county. We have done a great job in Jeffco. My children have gotten a good education here. We have some renowned schools, nationally renowned schools, but we also have some performance gaps that we need to work on. We have schools with long waiting lists where we know that we have parents that have programs that they would like to see replicated. We've got to identify the great successes in Jeffco and replicate them better across this county. I want to deliver an education plan and deliver the results that results in Jefferson County having an educational system that draws people into this school district, that draws teachers, parents, and children here, because we can move from good to truly great, and I know how to get us there. I'm Ken Witt. Thank you. I appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Ken. That concludes the candidates for our school board races. Next, I'm going to introduce another fellow moderator. Her name is Mary Cavara. She will introduce the ballot issues that we will see on the ballot this November. Mary, thanks.
Good evening. You will see two very important questions on the ballot this year. The first one is Amendment 66. As an amendment, it was put on the ballot by the signature collection process, and it is an amendment to the Colorado's Constitution and the Colorado statutes. So to just give you a few of the highlights, it will raise the state income tax from 4.63% to 5% on the first $75,000 of taxable income, and to 5.9% on any taxable income over $75,000. Second, it implements legislation passed by the state legislature creating a new formula for allocating state and local funding to school districts. Third, repeals the constitutional requirement that base per pupil funding for public education increases by at least the rate of the inflation annually. And the last requires that at least 43% of state income, sales, and excise tax collected at the existing tax rate be set aside to pay for public education. The second question is Proposition AA. And a proposition is different. It's put on the ballot by the state legislature. And the highlights of this one are it would impose a 15% state excise tax on the average wholesale price of retail marijuana. This proposition deals strictly with retail marijuana taxes. Second, it imposes a 10% state sales tax on retail marijuana and all products, those retail products. Third, direct 15% of the revenue collected from the 10% of the state sales tax to cities and counties where retail marijuana sales occur, and allows the state legislature to increase or decrease the excise and sales tax so long as the rate on either tax does not exceed 15%. Now we have speakers that will speak pro and con on both of these issues, but they are very complicated issues, and if you would like to get more information, I urge you to go to the Secretary of State's website and search for the Blue Book, and that's a little pamphlet that gives a very unbiased but in-depth analysis of these questions. So now I would like to introduce the first person that will speak in favor of this Amendment 66, Funding for Public Schools, Lauren Arnold.
Okay, thanks for staying late. I am Lauren Arnold, and I am just a Jeffco mom. I have two kids here in public schools in Jefferson County, and I'm here on behalf of Amendment 66. First, I wanted to tell you about a couple things that I believe about education that we at Amendment 66 believe about education. The first thing that I know is that an educated population is key to a vibrant Colorado economy. We all know that. This isn't an abstract concept. This is about the firefighter who comes to rescue or save your home. That firefighter needs to know thermodynamics. They have to be educated. It's about the surgeon or the doctor who you go to when you get a cancer diagnosis and changes that from a death sentence to something that's just a disease that you deal with. These are educated folks who have come through the public education system here in Colorado. The second thing I know is that when we invest in education, we actually save money down the line. We save money on prisons, policing, and social services. We know that the highest predictor of whether someone ends up in prison is whether or not they graduate from high school. That's it. We know that unemployment among high school graduates is lower than unemployment among non-high school graduates. The third thing that we know, or that I know, is that every kid, regardless of where they grew up in Colorado and what family they came from and what income distribution they came from, they deserve a good education. They deserve the chance to succeed. So here in Jeffco, and I'm a Jeffco kid, we have great schools. But over the last 10 years, we have been taking away funding from our schools while they were doing well. We have lost $1 billion over the last 10 years for the state of Colorado in education. That is $36,000 per classroom. That math just doesn't work. I'm a CFO. I know how to add numbers. That just doesn't work. We have fallen behind our peers. The funding cuts over the last 10 years have been so great that we actually here in Colorado, and you may not know this, but we have 80 districts out of 175 that operate on a 4-day school week because they cannot afford to send our kids to school 5 days a week. That is just crazy. In Jeffco here, we actually do have 5 days a week. That's good. But we pay for buses, textbooks, and basic school materials as parents. The district can't pay for that anymore. We don't have field trips, or if we do, we pay for them ourselves, and we don't have labs. Because we don't have the money for physics, economics, and calculus teachers in districts across the state, we've actually reduced our graduation requirements in the state of Colorado because we don't have the money to offer the classes that kids need not to graduate, but to succeed. So we've reduced the graduation requirements. To me, that's just a little bit nuts. So as a CFO, I don't just support a tax increase, or I don't just support an investment. I actually require accountability. This is something that's really important to me and that I'm thrilled with Amendment 66. Amendment 66 isn't a blank check. It directs the money directly to investments in early childhood education. We know that works. It's full-day kindergarten, it's more individual attention, and those are all things that are proven to help students in the long run. The money that will be protected. Amendment 66 requires that the money actually go to the classroom. It can't go anywhere else. It's illegal to send the money anywhere else. It goes to the classroom. And the last thing as a CFO I just love is that the money actually is accountable. Every school has to publish exactly where it goes. So it's a small price tag to pay for the success of our kids and for the success of our economy. I ask you to vote yes on Amendment 66.
Thank you, Lauren, and thank you, Mary, for giving us that summary of the two ballot issues. Now speaking against Amendment 66 is John Kaiser. John?
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. My name is John Kaiser. I'm a second-generation Colorado native. I'm an Air Force Academy graduate. I'm a combat veteran, but most importantly, I'm a father, I'm a husband, and I'm one of your neighbors right here in Jeffco. And tonight I'm here to ask you to join me to reject the largest tax increase in Colorado history by voting no on Amendment 66. You know, Amendment 66 promises education reform, but throwing money at the problem just won't work. As a matter of fact, Amendment 66 doesn't provide any assurances of real education reform. The only assurance that it provides is a permanent billion-dollar tax hike per year in Colorado. This amendment will really shortchange us here in Jefferson County. Let me explain why. For every new dollar that a Jefferson County taxpayer pays into this system under Amendment 66, we'll only receive 56 cents of that dollar back in Jeffco schools. Now, I'm not a CFO and I'm not a Wall Street banker, but I know that if I'm going to make an investment and I'm going to give someone $1, but I know I'm only going to get 50 cents back, that's not a great investment, and frankly, that's more of a shell game. That's a gamble, maybe at best. Equally as disturbing to me is that a special needs child in Jefferson County would get $1,000 less than a special needs child in Denver, simply because of the money that would get redistributed from Jefferson County downhill to Denver. So let's talk about some of the more specific things that Amendment 66 does. It really hits struggling families and small businesses hard at a time when they can really least afford it. It raises taxes on every single Colorado taxpayer, every single one, including many small businesses. And it increases tax rates by up to 27%. It amends the Colorado Constitution and would result, as I said, in the largest tax increase in Colorado history of $1 billion per year. It sticks Coloradans with the 5 highest base income tax rates in the United States. Colorado would be one of the 5 highest out of all 50 states. And it takes about half of the money that we, as Jefferson County taxpayers, would pay into the system, and it would roll that money straight downhill into Denver and Aurora. Now, Amendment 66 does not ensure that our kids will get a better education. It doesn't. It doesn't help our hardworking teachers, and it doesn't incentivize and reward high performers, and it doesn't give us any metric with which we can measure any amount of success. You know, proponents for Amendment 66 will tell you that Amendment 66 is big change for a small price. Well, I don't know any family in Colorado that would say that a 27% tax increase is small. Great education isn't a left or a right issue, it's a core American value, and it's a promise that we make to our children here in Colorado. And as parents, my wife Emma and I want our daughter Eleanor to enter school and be in a system that encourages her and enables her to thrive. We can all agree that our education system needs work, but Amendment 66 is not the answer. Here in Jeffco, we know that we need higher standards, not higher taxes. Thanks.
Thank you, John. And now we'll hear from two speakers, one pro and one con for Proposition AA, retail marijuana taxes. Here tonight to speak in favor of Proposition AA is Joe Megacy. Joe?
Thank you very much for sticking around tonight to listen to me, and thank you very much for having me. My name is Joe Megacy. I work on the Yes on Proposition AA campaign. In the past, I worked on Amendment 64, which of course set up the framework for the legalization of marijuana, the legal sale, retail sale, and commercial cultivation of marijuana in Colorado. And part of that initiative that was passed last year by 55% of Colorado voters, including a majority of voters in Jefferson County, was the a notion that 15% excise tax, an excise tax on the wholesale activity of marijuana. So that's when marijuana leaves a growing facility and goes towards either a factory to be made into some other product or directly to a retail store. And that money, that provision was in Amendment 64, and it's a 15% excise tax. With the first $40 million of that revenue generated annually will be going to the BEST Fund, which is a building better education for schools today, building excellent schools today. Pardon me. That's the BEST Fund, and that goes towards public school capital construction. So all Proposition AA is doing is fulfilling a commitment made to Colorado voters. Voters approved Amendment 64 last year with the notion that these taxes would be in place. So that's what Proposition AA does. That's the first part of it. It enacts this excise tax on wholesale activity, with the first $40 million going towards public education construction. Now, since all that money was earmarked towards education construction, the legislators at the state capitol this year were concerned that there would not be any money left over for regulatory oversight or enforcement. So they came up with this idea of adding an additional special state sales tax. Now, initially, they wanted to have a very high tax, upwards of 25–30%. But I also worked on implementation, and we worked very hard with them to negotiate to get that down to a level that we felt would not encourage further black market activity. That was the whole notion of Amendment 64, was to take marijuana sales away from drug cartels and criminals and put them into the retail legitimized market. So we felt that we got this tax down to a level that would still allow for a legitimate marijuana industry to emerge in Colorado. And that's what we have with the 10% sales tax. So that second part of the Proposition AA is that. It's a sales tax that will be dedicated completely towards regulatory oversight and enforcement. So that's what we have. It's a two tax with Proposition AA. It's an excise tax on wholesale activity of marijuana cultivation, which is at 15%. It's expected to generate $27.5 million in the first year. The second part is a special 10% sales tax, which is protected to generate $38.5 million. So I urge you to vote yes. I want to just make one final point. If you don't use marijuana, you don't pay this tax. It is only a tax on marijuana users. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Now here to speak against the Proposition AA retail marijuana taxes is Miguel Lopez. Miguel?
Hello, good evening, and thank you very much. I appreciate you folks being here so late, being the last speaker. That's very important. I'm from Wheat Ridge, Colorado, off of 45th and Quay, so I know a lot more about Wheat Ridge than our typical friends that are lobbyists in the Capitol. I'm very proud that Wheat Ridge has had a lot of establishments that represent small businesses. I'm also very important that, even though you don't smoke marijuana, if you are concerned with your children, they're going to be able to buy it someplace else where it's going to be cheaper and it'll return to the black market. These onerous regulations will honestly go in favor of a lot of cartels that are the big businesses with big government. And so these would also kill small businesses in Wheat Ridge, which we've been proud about seeing up and down 44th Avenue, 38th, and everywhere else along the Wadsworth corridor, which I've seen instead of like downtown Denver with corporations filled everywhere. So this is going to hurt our kids. It's bad for business, and it's just too high of a tax even if you do smoke marijuana, which has been part of the voting results that you've heard here in Jefferson County. So it's been a little bit disingenuous. The taxes are absolutely just too high from the state to talk about overregulation. The campaign has been that it's safer than alcohol. This would push our children to actually drink more alcohol on top of it. So we encourage your vote no on AA to, the taxes are too high. It would push our kids to buy it from someplace else where it's cheaper and make it more illegal and return to the black market. So on top of that, the legislators are working with big business and cartel people that are involved with, making it just for the bigger guy and not for small business, which is all about Wheat Ridge. So thank you for coming, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Miguel. That concludes the 2013 Wheat Ridge United Neighborhoods Election Forum. I want to reiterate, you may have heard it earlier, and for those of you watching at home, if you missed any portion of tonight's forum, don't fret. This is actually going to be rebroadcast on the cable access channel 2 to 3 times daily from now until election time. Not only that, but you may actually watch it on the City of Wheat Ridge's website on what they're called their web TV. If you go to the home page, you'll see a link there. That enables you to actually watch various parts of this forum. So if you've missed some portion of tonight, perhaps you missed the municipal races, or you want to hear certain speakers again, you can hear parts of it there. It is also going to be available on the City of Wheat Ridge's YouTube site. So there's lots of ways that you can find this being rebroadcast on your own time or at the televised times on our cable access channel. I want to thank a number of people tonight. First off, let's thank our candidates and our speakers for taking the time out tonight to inform us all as voters. Very much appreciate that all the time. I want to encourage all of you to vote. You should expect to see a mail ballot come to your home, your registered address that is. I believe mid-October, you'll start to see those getting mailed out. So watch that carefully. Again, the City of Wheat Ridge, we need to recognize the contributions they make to this program here. They've made this facility available. They've also provided the videographer and enabled us to produce this and rebroadcast it. So thank you very much to the City of Wheat Ridge. I also want to thank a number of citizens who contributed. If you watch the first half, the City of Wheat Ridge candidates all answered questions that had been submitted by citizens. That was volunteer citizens who put in questions that they thought their candidates should answer. And I just wanted to recognize who contributed to those tonight. That would be Deb Bollig, Kim Calamino, Mary Cavara, Lily Griego, Jesse Hill, David Coons, Lloyd Levy, Betty Jo Page, Polly Pinkston, and Kathy Rose. Thank you to all of you. And lastly, I want to thank our volunteers tonight. So Wheat Ridge United Neighborhoods, we have held this forum every year. I think we actually kind of lost count, but we're in the upper 20s. We've been doing this nearly 30 years. But I want to thank the volunteers of Wheat Ridge United Neighborhoods for doing the snacks, for getting all this arranged, especially Nancy Snow and Tom Slattery, who spent hours contacting all of you and arranging this. And then also I want to thank Olivia Bohannon, who is the volunteer from Wheat Ridge High School and helped us with the question answer program tonight. And then to my right here is our city clerk currently. She did all the timekeeping, was very quiet and was right on it. This is Janelle Shaver. So thanks to everybody, and again, have a good night.